In the wake of the latest mass casualty events like the stabbing on the train, people asking, what are we going to do about the monsters coming into our country? What are we going to do about these monsters attacking our children? What are we going to do about these monsters attacking us as we walk our dog, go to dance recitals, or simply walk down the street? But what if the monsters were already here? Guys, what if the monsters were here all along? What if the monsters are the very people we used to call friends, brothers, sisters? The monsters are the ones telling us that noticing what's happening makes us racist. The monsters are the ones egging them on. The monsters are the ones that are saying they're just as British as us, that we need to shut up for the sake of diversity. The monsters are the ones that are telling us that quoting statistics is in fact racist. The monsters are the ones that are telling us that we shouldn't look back in anger. The monsters are the ones that insist that we need to vote further left because the only way to defeat evil is to be more inclusive. You see, after the attack, there was a wave of people on the internet, specifically on X, who immediately tried to shut down the debate on the subject, right? They started calling anyone who wanted to discuss it as a racist, a xenophobe, a bigot. And then, once it was discovered that the perpetrators were in fact black, like everyone assumed, they shut us down again, saying that the colour doesn't matter, ethnicity shouldn't matter. In fact, noticing their difference, noticing the difference in ethnicity, that's actually the racist thing, that's the evil itself. It has no correlation to the crime. And so you're all racist for talking about it. And then of course we saw them gleefully spread the news and shout from the rooftops that the attackers were in fact born in Britain, therefore they're just as British as you and me, and their ethnicity definitely has no bearing on the crime that they've committed. Their motivation doesn't matter, because they're just as British as you. And don't you know, white people also commit crimes. Yeah, so if you want to single this out or talk about it, that again makes you a racist, a bigot, and a xenophobe. Because these people, they have a perverse and warped sense of reality. And I don't know where this stems from, whether they've been locked into their narrative corner through years of indoctrination, and now it's like a sunk cost fallacy mixed with some kind of cognitive dissonance that's warping their ability to see or use reason, any logic or any facts, any ability to see what is actually happening. You see, I don't know whether they bought into the propaganda drive that has diminished the British and English identity, spreading it like cheap butter across the country, as though anyone can come here and just be as British and as English as you and me. I don't know what has caused them to allow politicians to openly lie to them and never hold them accountable for their decisions or their actions. In fact, they defend these very politicians, the very ones that have opened the borders to these fucking animals that are currently committing carnage against this country. They're quite happy to defend them. But again, the very worst monsters, I think, are not the ones that have been brought here. They're not the ones that we're paying to stay in hotels, only to have them randomly attack us. The real monsters are the people and the politicians that have facilitated this. The politicians themselves, like I said, who have gaslit the public into accepting it. The politicians who have lied to us about the numbers over all these years, about how many people are actually here, how many crimes they're committing. The politicians who continue to lie about the grooming scandals and the cover-ups and the widespread implementation of Islam into all facets of society. But I think even worse than all of these, are the monsters who try to convince us that we're wrong for noticing. The average person on the street who thinks that they're holier than thou, sitting high above everyone, judging us for simply noticing things. The very person that would call you a racist for seeing a black man stab someone and saying that was a black man. Because they'll tell you that he's just a man like you and me, just as British as you and me. The fact that you've been stabbed, well, that's just by the by. Who cares about that? What's really important is that you identified his race. You identified a fundamental characteristic that separates him from you and me. And that's the real evil in their eyes. That's the real crime in the eyes of these lunatics. So I would like the British people to stand up and recognise that we are fighting multiple battles on multiple fronts. We have the monsters, yes, being invited in, of course. We can't really do anything about that until it happens, until we stop it. And we've got to be brave enough when we see them attack people to stand up and take them down. We've got to sacrifice ourselves, put our lives on the line. God knows why we have to do this, but here we are. We live in this time now. Put our lives on the line and make sure they don't actually hurt anyone, that the rampage doesn't continue. That their rampage stops with us. But more than that, we've got to recognize that the politicians, they are complicit. And they don't care. They welcome the division because it creates intense debates and animosity between our fellow countrymen, because it furthers their goals and silences questions. It distracts good people from fighting the real problems and allows them to further their sinister, insidious push to take away freedoms, eventually implementing things like digital IDs, carbon credit taxes, and forced fucking vaccines. You see, we can expect the government to be evil because we've gotten used to it. We know that they're not good faith actors, that they're actually the worst people, acting in the very worst way, to harm our country in the very worst way. The fact that they're almost all linked to the Fabian Society should be a clue, a society that wants global depopulation through any means, to get rid of the useless eaters. It means that they act, and their actions, their insidious agendas, should no longer be surprising, guys. But people seem disarmed. They seem to not understand the creep, the rot, the evil that has seeped into the minds of almost every single leftist or every single everyday person who calls themselves a freedom fighter or some bullshit term like this. These people have been silent collaborators. The women, for example, indoctrinated by a toxic version of feminism who think that all men are evil. The leftists, both men and women, who think that everyone is equal, everyone is the same, inside and out. It doesn't matter about IQ, education doesn't matter, their ideologies don't matter, their race doesn't matter. None of these things matter, even while that person with that ideology is stabbing you to death. You see, what really matters, once again, is that you noticed that they're not English. We have to recognize that there is a cancer spreading in this country, and the cancer is in the minds of men, the minds of our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers. And that cancer will try and convince you that you do not have an identity, that you don't have a history, that you don't have a country, that your race, that doesn't matter either. See, they're quite happy for you to be a minority in your own country, because they've been led to believe that that is just and right, and that it's okay. A mind virus that seeks its own extinction. Guys, the monsters have been here all along. I'm tired. I'm tired of giving these people the benefit of the doubt. I'm tired of trying to convince them that this is wrong, that what they're saying is wrong, the way that they're interpreting events and then gaslighting people to shut up and accept the stabbings, accept the murders, accept the corrupt politics. I'm tired of these people. Yes, again, we have invited the monsters into the country. Well, not we, obviously, the bad actors. The monsters are here, right? Okay, they're doing horrible things, but we've got to recognize that the monsters were here all along. They're the people that have opened the gate and cheered this on. All right, that's my rant over. I'm proper tired of this, guys. If you do like the channel, subscribe. See you later.